I'm presenting a visual and narrative inquiry to explore undergraduate entomology students' foundational insect interest. The participants of this study were undergraduate entomologists. I was able to recruit 3 of them. One of them was majoring in arts as well. The research questions I address are what childhood experiences sparked participant interest in insects. Inside that question, I'm looking at specific emotions, feelings, ideas, where the experiences took place, how were meaningful for them, and how transformational were. The second question asks how the students see themselves and the insects in relation to each other, to kind of engage the students to transition between the memory they were recalling and the second part that consists in imagination. So I asked what characteristics are attractive to the participants, and then in the third question, how do the students represent and imagine an encounter with the insects. The methods I used are phenomenology, which explores the human experience and how we perceive and understand and become conscious of the world around us. Some elements of art therapy, like the environment, in which the different sensory, kinesthetic, and embodied knowing ways facilitate the flow of imagination, consciousness, meaning making, and mutual understanding between the participants, and narrative inquiry to record the experiences of them, so we can see how their particular perspective is revealed, and also to observe their storytelling. The activity consisted in 2 parts. Was a group activity. The first part consisted in describing the environment of the remembered experience, and the second part consisted in creating an imaginary conversation or communication with the insect in their memory. The different types of data generated consisted in the narrative that was filmed in video, and also consisted in and was shaped in the form of an interview of them explaining their story using their drawings in front of the camera. The video links are attached to the paper, and then also the drawings, field notes, analytic memos, and the answers themselves. So I did some hand coding, as you can see, just highlighting the different codes that were both deductive and inductive, like I was searching for, answering the questions, and also allowing them to emerge on that way. This is an example of how the coding of the images look. I was describing visual elements, visual composition, narrative elements, actions, and answering to each question. In the findings, I identified different themes. The first one were the actions and the transformative experiences. The different actions for discovering insects are listed in 3. So here is seeing and touching, because the experiences recalled by the participants happen in preschool between 4 and 6 years of age. For the meaning and transformation part, each of them had a different approach to this meaning and transformation. So for the first participant, learning was what was being identified and observed as a transformation. For the second participant, becoming the other, that means being able to step on the shoes of the insects or the other nature, what's important for this participant. And for the third one was becoming myself, so becoming the person they were wishing to be. The subthemes identified consisted in places and people and feelings, ideas, and values. For the second question, the themes related to themselves in relation to the insects are studied through a table I created with descriptive words. So there are different adjectives that I'm intending in transforming into a poem. So when you read through the list, you can see in the very two participants how they transform their perspective from something very very related to the feelings towards something into the realm of rationality at the very end. For the third participant, they didn't use much words for describing the insects in particular. They were mostly focused in describing their own experience. They were really rich in doing that. For the second theme, the narrative perspective, this was one of the themes that emerged from the participants. So the very first one, Avery, is characterized as the narrator of her own story. So she uses this third point of view or perspective, seeing herself on her own development. So she was very reflective of her learning process. For the second one, Noe, she values a subjective point of view. So her two drawings were made from either her own subjective perspective or the insect perspective. So she was able to value this more than any other. And for the third, for Kip, they drew a whole comic. So this was an adventure style narrative. For the third question about the imaginary encounter, different approaches were made. So here in the screen you can see two, and for both of them the insect is appearing on their hand. And for the third one, it was more abstract, the encounter with the insects. They were appearing, I'm going to go back here really quick, as people on the petals of a flower. So for Avery, she was able to become small and share with them as one of them and collaborate and participate in what the insects were doing. While for the other ones, for Noe on the right, she was able to establish communication one-on-one. So the butterfly was talking and really revealing the secrets, one of the secrets of the universe. And for the third one, for Kip, they were able to listen to the insect talking to them and saying hello. But the insect didn't become bigger or smaller. They kept the real dimensions. And in the discussion, I found that the emerging values of these students are corresponding to conservationist values. Conservation is seen as opposite as controlling nature, and caring for nature is also seen as opposite as intensive management. So these are conflicts the students are finding on their classes, how their values are being challenged by these perspectives of nature. The implications for future studies include longitudinal studies across education levels that allow us to see how these childhood values are carried towards higher ed, through elementary, middle, high school environments, and what are the challenges that the undergraduate students are facing for carrying those values once they find these more practical views of nature, how they can become effective conservationists if those are the values they want to cultivate, how to support these conservationist values, and how arts can be used for expression to support those values. So the students were being very thankful for the space of sharing their feelings. They found that for them was very important to count with these spaces embedded in their education, not necessarily as a required class, but not necessarily either as a club. So they were really valuing that this was taken into the realm of research. The recommendations for future practice consist in how unique narrative styles and subjective perspectives can humanize science in education. So probably teachers and professors can bring them to improve their practice. Science for caring nature can be promoted, so students who are attracted for these values can can visualize themselves in doing science, and how this genuine essence can be carried to adulthood. How professors can receive training for engagement in personal and subjective practices for motivation of students with these values. Thank you so much.